We'll chant the Dhamma Pavatana Sutta this evening. That begins on page 3 of the golden coloured chanting books. Can you do the intro, Ajahn?
Anuttarang abhisambodhing sambodhitawa tathagato patamang yang adese siddhammachakang anuttarang samadeva pavatento lokeya pativatiyang yatha kata upoanta patipati chamajima Chatusvariyasa chesu visuddhang jnanatasanang desitang dhammarajena samasambodhikitanang namena visuddhang suddhang dhammachaka pavatanang veyakarana sangitantam banamase.
Evang me sutang ekang samayang bhagava varanasiyang viharati isipatane megada ye tatrako bhangava panchavagye bhikkhu aman Te sidave me bhikkhave antapa bhajite nase vitaba yojayanka me sukha masukhalika nuyoko hino kamo potu janiko anariyo tasanyito yochayang atakilamatanu yoko duko anariyo anatasanyeto etete bhikkhave upo ante anupagamma jima patipada tata katena abhisambodha cha kukarani jnana karani upasama ya abhinyaya sambodhaya nipa naya sangva tati katama chasa bhikkhave manjima patipada tathagateena abhisambodha chakukarani jnana karani upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nippanaya sangva tati ayameva hariyo atangiko magose yatidang sama diti sama kapo sama vacha sama kamanto sama ajivo sama vayamo sama sati sama samadhiyayang kosa bhikkhave jima patipada tata katena abhisambodha cha kukarani jnana karan upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nippanaya sang
Vatati hidang panna bhikkhave dukkhaṃ ariyasa chang jati dukkha jara dukkha maranam dukkhaṃ sokam parideva dukkhaṃ domana subhaya sapidukkha apiyehi sampayogo dukkho piyehi vipayogo dukkho yambi cham nalabati sampidukkhaṃ sanki tena panchubha dana kandha dukkha idang ko panna bhikkhave dukkha samuddayo ariya saccaṃ yayang tanha pono bhavika na niraga sahagata tatra binan niniseyatidang kamatanha Pavatanha vipavatanha hidang ko panna bhikkhave dukkha nirodho ariya saccaṃ yotha sa yevatan haya asesavi ganirodho chago patine sango mutiyana layo idang ko panna bhikkhave dukkha nirodha gamini patipada ariya saccaṃ ayame vahariyo athaṃ kiko mago se yatidang samma diti sama sankapo samma vaca samma kamando samma ajivo samma vayamo samma sati samma samadhi idang dukkhaṃ ariya saccanti me bhikkhave pupeyananusate sudhamme sucakkhaṃ udapadi ñānaṃ udapadi paññā udapadi vicca udapadi aloko udapadi taṃ panidang dukkhaṃ ariya saccaṃ parinyeyanti me bhikkhave Beyananusate sudhamme sucakkhaṃ udapadi ñānaṃ udapadi paññā udapadi vicca udapadi aloko udapadi taṃ panidang dukkhaṃ ariya saccaṃ parinyatanti me bhikkhave pupeyananusate sudhamme kung udapadi ñānaṃ udapadi paññā udapadi vicca udapadi aloko udapadi idang dukkha samuddayo ariya saccanti me bhikkhave pupeyananusate sudhamme sucakkhaṃ udapadi ñānaṃ udapadi paññā udapadi vicca udapadi aloko udapadi taṃ panidang dukkha samuddayo ariya saccaṃ pahata banti me bhikkhave pupeyananusate sudhamme sucakkhaṃ udapadi ñānaṃ udapadi paññā udapadi vicca udapadi aloko udapadi taṃ panidang dukkha samuddayo ariya chang pahinan time pekave po peyananu sute sudame suchakong udapadi nyanang udapadi panya udapadi vija udapadi aloko udapadi idang dukkani rodho ariyasa chanti mebe kawe pombeyanan sute sudamme sucha kong udapadi nyanang udapadi panya udapadi vija udapadi aloko udapadi tangko panidang dukkani rodho ariyasa chang satchika tabanti mepe kawe pobe ananu sute sudha me sucha kong udapa dinyanang udapa dipanya udapa vicha udapa dialoko udapa titangko banidang dukkani rodho ariyasa chang sa chikatanti mepe kawe pobe ananu sute suda me sucha kong udapa dinyanang udapa dipanya udapa divija udapa dialoko udapa idang dukkani rodgamini patipada hariyasa chanti mepe kawe po peyananu sute sutta me sucha kong udapadi nyanang udapadi panya udapadi vija udapadi aloko udapadi tangko panidang dukkani rodgamini patipat ariyasa chang bhaveta banti mepe kawe po peyananu sute sudame sucha kong udapadi nyanang udapadi panya udapadi vija udapadi aloko udapadi tangko panidang dukkani rodgamini patipada hariyasa chang bhavitanti mepe kawe pobe ananu sute sudam sucha kong udapadi nyanang udapadi panya udapadi vija udapadi aloko udapadi yavaki vanchame bekawe ime suchatu suhariyasa chesu evan tiparivatang dava dasakarang yatha bhutang nyadasanang nasuvisudang ahosinevata vahang beka sande vake loke samarake sabramake sahasamana brahmaniya pachaya sate vamanusaya anutarang samboding abhisambodo pachanya sing yato chako me bhikkhave ime suchatu suhariyasa chesu evan tiparivatang dava dasakarang yatha bhutang jnanada sanang suvisudang ahosi atahang bhikkhave sante vake loke samarake sabramake sa samana brahmaniya มณียาปัจจายสเทวมนุสายอนุตรังสัมโบธิงอภิสัมโบโดปัจจัญญาสิงญาณจะพันเมตาสนังอุดปาติยคุปปะเมวิมุตติยมันติมาจาตินาทิดานิพุนาภาวติเอตัมโวจะภะคะวะอาธัมมนาปัญจวัคคียาภิกขุภะคะวะโตบาสิตังอภินันดงอิมัสมินจะปันเวยะคารนัสมิงปัญญมาเนอายสมัตโตคอนดันยัสสวิรจังวิธรรมลังดามจักคุงอุดภาติยังกินชิสามุดายดามังสะบันทังนิโรธดามันดีภาวะทิเตจะบังกวตาดัมมจะเกบุมมาเดวะสาดัมมนุสาเวสงเอตัมภะคะวะตาบาราณสียังเอสิปัตตันไดเยอนุตตรังดัมมจักขังภาวะทิทังอาปติวะทิยังสัมมเนนะวะบรามเนนะวะเดเวนะวะมาเรนะวะบราหมุนะวะเคนะชิวะโลกัสมินดิบุมมานังเดวานังสาดังสุตวาชาตุมหาราชิกาเดวะสาดัมมนุสาเวสงชาตุมหาราชิกานังเดวานังสาสุตวาทาวติงสาเทวาสาดัมมนุสาเวสงทาวติงสานังเดวานังสาดังสุตวายามาเดวะสาดัมมนุสาเวสงยามานังเดวานังสาดังสุตวาทุสิทาเทวาสาดัมมนุสาเวสงทุสิทานังเทวานังสาสุตวานิมานารติเดวะสาดัมมนุสาเวสงนิมานารตินังเดวะนังสาดังสุตวาภารณิมิตวสวะทิเทวะสาดัมมนุสาเวสงภารณิมิตวสวะทินังเดวะสาดังสุตวาบรมคาอิกาเดวะสาดัมมนุสาเวสงเอตัมภะคะวะตาบาราณสียังอิสิปัตตานิมิกตายเยอนุตรังดัมมจักขังภาวะติตังอาปติวาติยังสัมมเนนะวะบรามเนนะวะเดเวนะวะมาเรนะวะบราหมุนะวะเคนะชิวะโลกัสมินดิเอติหัตเทนะคะเนนะเทนะโมโคเทนะยาวะบรมมาโลกาสาโดอาบุกาชิยายันจะดัสสหาสิโลกธาตุสังฆังปิสัมปะคัมปิสัมปะเวริอาปมาโนจะโอลาโรโอบาโซโลเกภาตุระโหสิยติกะเมวะเดวานังเดวานุภาวังอัตตโคบังกวาอุดา Udane si anya si watabo kondanyo anya si watabo kondanyo ti etihidang yasamato kondan yatsahanya kondanyo tawewana mang aho siti Dhamma Chakkapavatana Sutta Nitidang
If you'd like to stand up or take a quick bio break, please feel free.
if anyone's requesting the Dhamma talk, whoever's going to do that could do that now.
Thank you. I accept your kind invitation. So this morning I was asked if I wanted to offer some reflections. Okay, yes, I said. And then, as you know, the day is packed and busy with all sorts of sitting and walking and interviews and meals and tea. And so here I am, having not gone into any huge preparation, because what I'd like to speak about is the heart of our matter. What matters to our heart, and why it really matters to allow the heart to relax and open, even quiver. One of the definitions of metta is when the heart quivers, to soften, to relax, to receive, to open to hold lightly. Why that's so important, especially as we're here on retreat, and you probably have already felt the unfolding, the unfurling of your body, your heart, mind, the citta. And if we can continue to allow that, then all the teachings, they are received, they come in. They come in and they do whatever they're going to do, whether we intellectually understand them or not. In fact, sometimes intellectually understanding them is like a shield. It prevents the true knowing. So it's the heart that knows. Ajahn Amaro says, citta, heart or heart-mind, is the Dhamma, unrecognized. And at first I thought, well, maybe it should be not recognized yet. And then I had a really great conversation with Ajahn Nyaniko about that, short but really helpful. And he said, there's no yet, because it's always here. Oh, yeah. Right. Our attitude, our body, our heart, our minds are all so important to recognize, to sense, to feel, to know, in order to begin this path of awakening or continue on this path of awakening, of unfolding, of unfurling, of receiving. Because this clarity of vision that can occur, especially when the heart is quiet, you probably know the heart really likes to be quiet. When the heart is quiet, the clouds can lift. And part of what Ajahn Amaro writes about in his book, Catastrophe, is that dependent origination is a way of looking at what happens when the mind is clouded. that sensing and mindful awareness of the chain of events that start to unfold or unravel, where one thing causes another, and then this causes that, and this happens, and then that arises, and then that forms, etc. And one of the things I think we can be very watchful, very softly watchful of, is when the heart, mind, and body become what has been talked about as sankhara, or divided. We can sense and we can feel what divided is like. There's so much of our energy, wasted and useless energy, put forth in wanting, in desiring, in craving, in attachment, in aversion. There's a lot of effort in all of those things. A lot of energy is expended in all of those volitional, energetic actions. When the heart's not in conflict, it feels like to each of us. If you take a moment and see if you can soften your heart, breathe into it once or twice or 3 times, and just know there is no conflict here. I can relax. I don't have to protect myself. I am protected. And eventually letting go of the even I ams. Just feeling this sense of relaxation and ease and peace and softness. So craving, attachment, aversion, and I spoke about this the other night, can all be sensed in the body. There's movement with them. There's usually narrowing with either an attachment or an aversion. The second noble truth, clinging. There's a narrowing, there's a division, there's a split. There's this reaching out or pushing away or holding in. They create conflicts because we don't have what we want. We have too much of what we don't want, and all the myriad different shades and tones and values in between. So in sankhara, when the division happens, we form around something. And I'd mentioned briefly the other night that I picture the formation, my own particular formation, because I sense it. It's like beautiful light-colored particles dancing around, and then all of a sudden, whoop, creating this solid form of something. I see that. You might sense that in one way or another. This narrowing of the heart, this narrowing of the mind, this narrowing of the body. And then there's more of a split. There's the nama rupa, maybe even the division that we think is between the mind and the body, or the heart, mind, and the body, when there really isn't any. One is mental, one is material. But their consciousness is found in both. And so when we're more mindful, there's an opportunity to notice when we begin to divide subject and object. When we start to know how we get into trouble, like when we're maybe about to cross the Vedana bridge, the bridge that leads to the troubled waters, feeling pleasant or sensing, pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. They're sensations. So again, the more attuned we become to our heart and that softening of it, that allowance of openness or just being here now, knowing, and the more we allow the heart to let the body shape around it in some sort of way that's open and permeable, which it really is anyway, then the more we can start to sense when we're about to cross the bridge or when we've crossed the bridge and we're down the road. And when we've crossed the bridge and we're down the road and we're suffering, we know, oh, shoot, I did it again. There's discomfort. There's major division. There's not much ease, if any. Usually the breath is tight, or the breath is held, the body is squeezed, or crooked, or in some sort of funny formation or shape. Funny, not so funny. We have another opportunity to track back what just happened. This is where mindfulness is so important. If we pay close, exquisite attention as much as possible to the way things happen, how things occur, then we can say, oh, I ended up here and now I remember it was that sound that I heard. Oh, I remember it was the thought about this incident. Oh, right. I remembered the unpleasant sensations in my body that created a story. Okay, so next time I sense those particular sensations, do I need to create the story? No, if I can just stop there, I don't have to. If I hear a sound that is unpleasant, I can know it's okay not to like it. I don't need to do anything with it. I don't need to get involved. I don't need to get entangled. I can just hear it. So when we track our process back to how things have begun, then we have more and more choice not to go there again. And to, I think, really stop the cycle of addiction. To know our patterns of behavior better and better. And know that our patterns of behavior may be, somewhat unique to us, but they're not personal. And I love that aspect of knowing a little bit about how our minds function, because it takes the onerous position of, I caused this all the time, what's wrong with me, to, oh, right, this is what a mind does. All minds do that. I was noticing that everybody, usually when I come on retreat, everybody looks familiar. Everybody looks familiar. And I think, well, maybe I've met you at a different retreat or seen you at a different retreat. Or maybe now, because we've been online so much, maybe I've seen you online. Or maybe I've seen you in the place where I live, I don't know. But everybody seems so familiar, and I recognized today, I think the familiarity is, I recognize your heart. We recognize each other's hearts. there's a almost like a resonance of just being here, that comes with just being here, and the courage to be here and the courage to come back, that we all share. We can recognize that in each other. I find that beautiful and relaxing and soft and tender and exactly what I always need at any moment. So if we can relax the heart more and more, I believe the heart will release the mind, but that's usually the way I experience it. And when my heart relaxes, I tend to notice that my body relaxes as well. I went to IMS to practice with Ajahn Amaro recently, and I hadn't gone on a retreat in person a very short retreat here in nature, but a longer retreat in person since before COVID. And I went into the retreat carrying some kind of heavy things that I thought I had sort of tended to, but I knew, there's going to be time to tend to them when I get on retreat. So I couldn't anticipate, really. I didn't want to anticipate. But my body, and I hadn't sat, and I've been, not feeling so great over COVID, and was doing a tremendous, and still do a tremendous amount of work online, like way more than I like to. But on the other hand, it's incredibly rewarding. I meet the most amazing people online, and I get to work with people all over the world. And we do come together virtually. It's pretty crazy. At first we thought, it's not that good. It is good. It's excellent. If that's how we can meet up, that's how we can meet up. But for me, sitting in a chair is not helpful to my body. And leaning forward towards a computer is not helpful for my body. I have like Zoom neck. And so I get up and I lie down and I practice in between all my sessions. Every single time. I have my mat right there. I have some blankets right there. I have that luxury because I live by myself and my office is open enough that I can do that. I highly recommend it, though, if you can even just find a sofa to lie on in between, if you work at home or lie on the floor and just relax for a moment between meetings. Because when the body can relax, it makes everything easier on the heart-mind. But sitting so much at the desk on my computer, straining, really trying to sense the people in front of me from the computer, which I've learned to do. But it just takes a lot of energy, I find. I'm tired. So I thought, well, probably not going to be able to sit on a cushion for the retreat. Okay. So when I got there, I chose a chair. And I hadn't ever sat in a chair on a retreat. But no big deal. I really thought, okay, if that's what I need to do to support my body, that's what I need to do to support my body, that's what I'm going to do. No problem. And then my body was kind of on fire because I was processing some discomfort, but emotional discomfort, mental discomfort. And I think just also unwinding my body from sitting in a chair on Zoom so much, not just sitting in a chair, but actively participating too many times on a screen. So the first couple days were, I would say, pretty uncomfortable. And I had not experienced that since the very first retreat I did. I was just I had no idea what I was getting into. A friend said, "Oh, let's go do a Vipassana retreat," and we went up to Shelburne Falls and did a Goenka 10-day retreat. I really didn't know what I was getting into. And I had just left my husband of 13 years. So needless to say, it wasn't the most comfortable thing I've ever done, but it taught me to stay. And the scan that Ajahn Goenka teaches just made so much sense to me that I've carried it with me ever since. It really brought me into my body in such a deep, refined way that I'm forever grateful. I don't think who knows, right place, right time, right thing to do. Good fortune. Although I cried so much, who was it? Ajahn Chah said, if you cry too much, you're a fool. I cried. I cried, and I brought tissues. But I would go through the tissues, and everybody's so quiet, and you're not supposed to move a hair. And I'm trying to be as quiet as possible as I'm sobbing, and I've run out of tissue, and I'm going to my shawl, and the shawl is getting completely soaked. And I was a little bit beside myself, on top of myself, all twisted in a knot. I don't know what I was. And at one point, I couldn't breathe. I mean, just lots of release coming out of my eyes and my nose. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to get up and I'm going to walk outside. And there was this big boulder out there. So I go out as quietly as I can. And I sat on the boulder and I cried more. And someone taps me on the shoulder. She said, "You can't be out here." Like, I can't stop crying. I don't have any tissues. I just left my husband. 13 years. Whatever I said to her. "You need to come back," she said. And she waited until I got up. And she escorted me back. Of course, I'm sitting in the back of the room, if you know about any Goenka retreat, because if you're new, you're in the back. If you've done a retreat or two, you move up. So it's like, okay, I'm ashamed. I'm in the back, and hopefully nobody sees me coming back in. But so I went back. I had to. I was there. I was committed. I knew it was good for me, really, not to run, to stay with that intense, insane discomfort and grief and sadness. And I did. I continued. I tried to sneak away and stretch a little bit. They would catch me then, too. I mean, really. They did have those little beehives, though, those little private rooms. When I finally got to have one, my arms were up, my legs were going all over the place. I did my stretching in private. Don't tell anybody, please. But learning to stay with discomfort during that retreat was the best thing I've ever done for myself, or that Ajahn Goenka helped me to do. The best. Now, I'm not the most patient person, but I know how to stay with discomfort if I remember. No, I do. I know how to stay. I know I'm going to be okay. I know I'll be okay, no matter how bad it is. So I sat on the retreat. My body felt like it was on fire. And I thought, well, okay, purification process. Here we are. On the second day, you know how you get those little inner voices that tell you things. Sometimes you want to know. Sometimes they're like really pithy and very wise. I heard this voice say, "Bring it on." Who knows where that came from? But I was ready. We get to know our obstacles, or we know that there will be obstacles even if they're brand new, and that it's important to be with them and not take them personally, not aggrandize them, not tickle them, not follow them so much, but just know, okay, this is discomfort. This is dukkha, 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 dukkha. And then eventually it was almost like the fever broke. Seriously, it felt like that. And my heart just went whomp. And I don't know how this happened, but, well, maybe because I've been listening to Ajahn Sucitto, and I've been using some of his teachings and some of the things that I've been teaching, because I really relate to how he talks about breath. And all of a sudden, my breath, which is somewhat what I described the other night in the movement classes, felt like wings expanding out and unfurling and doing these lovely little, whatever they're doing, patterns, and then just slightly closing, furling back in and going out, and almost like, how smoke dances in the air. It was like that ethereal, that playful, that wide, and then just coming back and then going out and coming, almost orchestrally, or I think I made that word up, but like I was conducting this, or the orchestra was conducting me, I don't know. But it just felt so good, and I didn't have the I, me, mine for some time there. It was gone. It was just this vapor-like experience of breath, this feeling of permeability in my body, like it wasn't solid. And I walked outside, and during the walking period, kind of floated outside, and it was springtime, and the apple buds were just about to come out, and they were this bright pink, like this intense fuchsia pink with these verdant green leaves, and there were these majorly huge bees around just buzzing, so there was the sound of the bees, there was the scent of the flowers, there was the color, and just an amazing sky, beautiful spring day there. I don't even remember seeing a cloud. It was very brilliant. So I looked up, and I stood there for I don't know how long, because I lose track of time, and time didn't matter, and I wasn't thinking about time, and nothing mattered. But I was just completely absorbed in this tree, the sound of the bees, the sky, and having my heart feel so free. Just then, so free, so light, so delighted, so delightful. And then all this gratitude came rushing in. Gratitude for being alive, gratitude for having the opportunity to be on the retreat, to practice with Ajahn Amaro again in person. Gratitude for all the hearts that I was practicing with, even though we weren't looking at each other. As you know, we sense each other's presence and kindness. There's small gestures of kindness in opening the door, or letting someone go first, or maybe picking up the spoon that was dropped at the food table. Just small, wonderful little gestures. It cleared the sky of my heart. I didn't feel my heart, mind was clouded for a little bit of time. And I was very mindful to recognize that. Because when we have these moments where there is no I, there is no me, there is no mine, there is no grasping, there is no clinging, attachment, aversion, story, division, etc., cycle. We're not in the cycle for a moment or two. It's such a relief. You know what it feels like. And we want to be able to really remember that feeling, not to crave it to come back, but to know it so well that we feel when it's starting to go away. Because that's when we can have a choice. When we recognize and sense the heart, the citta, being more free or free, it feels rather spacious. To me, it feels very soft. And by knowing that over and over and over again, short periods many times, or sometimes longer periods depends, I'm much more aware of when I'm losing that. And it's not like, oh, I need it back again. It's not that craving. But I can, not 100% of the time, I'm not enlightened yet, but a lot of the time I can pause, go to the area of my body that starts to feel the tension, the resistance, the pulling away or the pushing away. Breathe into it. Or just take my awareness there, the awareness like a lamp, the awareness like a light. Just shine the light on it, just for a second. And light unifies. And so even in the darkness, when we feel dark, when we feel divided, when we feel lost, if we can stay in a dark room, for instance, then our eyes adjust. They will adjust. I think that's the encouragement that our hearts can give us. It's just stay. It's okay. We'll adjust. And then we'll just be. And I'm here with you. I know that sounds like the division again, but sometimes we have to talk to ourselves like that. So we get a sense of that feeling lost, that feeling clouded, that feeling insecure, right? Actually, in Ajahn Amaro's book, he says, when the heart is lost in that dukkha state, feeling insecure and fragile and incomplete, even the rational mind, or then the rational mind, doesn't have a vote. And Ajahn Nyaniko, I think somewhat, if I interpret this correctly, alluded to that in The Director. You cannot fire the director with anger. He just, it, she, they, them won't go. It's like, no way. But if we're kind and tender, we can, politely bow to the director, and maybe they get the hint without us putting any words into it, or something like that. At any rate, we can't think it away. It's not a rational decision. It's something that I believe comes from the heart. Ajahn Chah said when the mind or citta is still, it's in its natural, normal state. Citta is the Dhamma unrecognized. And he says as soon as the mind moves, it becomes conditioned. That's when sankhara happens. As soon as the mind moves. So again, there's that effort, that energy towards, I like this sound, I want more of it, I need this XYZ, how can I get more of it? I don't like this, I hate this, how can I get this away? That's movement, that's volition. That stirs up the water so that all the building material that Ajahn Nyaniko was referring to a couple of days ago all gets kicked up in the water again. And that's what creates conditioning. And if we can step back when we start to notice that being kicked up or forming or attracted or wanting or being repelled or having an aversion towards something, then we don't necessarily have to keep going the same way. And that's how we might break the cycle. There was a wonderful Tibetan teacher named Kartar Rinpoche, and he said, the way we experience things is simply the display of our minds. And one time I was on a retreat with Sokni Rinpoche, and I'd gotten to know him pretty well. I was on his board of directors, and I thought I was really special. And he invited, I'm being facetious, but he invited a couple of us to go to a movie in the middle of the retreat. I was stunned. I was honored, of course, and flattered. But I was like, really? You want to go to a movie? Yeah, let's go to a movie. What are we seeing? I don't know. Let's just go. So it happened to be some really violent film. Like, really violent film. And so I knew of the film, just from the advertising. And I saw it when we drove up to the Cineplex. And I said, Rinpoche, I don't watch violent films. I can't do it. They burn images in my mind. And, I avoid them at all costs. I can't watch lots of the news because of that. And he said, oh, good. Just pretend, just know that it's a movie. And pretend that it's not real. What do you say to the Tibetan Lama that's paid for your ticket and brought you to a film in the middle of a retreat? Okay, I'll try. And actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought, and I don't remember harboring it. I don't remember crying. I do remember I did avert my eyes a couple of times, but there was still the sound of everything. At any rate, the way we experience things it's simply a display of our own minds. I had to keep that in mind. Right? So the way I was experiencing that movie was different than Sokni Rinpoche was experiencing that movie, which was different than the other people that had come. It just depended on how we were wired. We perceive because of our wiring, how we're put together. And that's lots of causes and conditions in history, et cetera, as we know. But William Blake, in his piece on the marriage of heaven and hell, he said, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear as it is. And I didn't really understand that for the longest time. I thought, well, it's just like clearing the windshield so I can see. But it just rings so familiarly with what Ajahn Sumedho says. It's like this. So when the doors of perception are cleansed, what we see is just like this. It's not ... and I like it, ... get it away from me. It's just, this is as it is. It is this. Yeah. So I started to understand that little by little. I think if we hang around enough, whether we, think we understand or not. But if we keep coming back to listen to the Dhamma, to be with people who are heartfelt and very skillful and wise, things sink in. And they sink in a level that's not intellectual. It's the heart that knows. Our beautiful, beautiful hearts, they know. They know. It's home. It's home. And our hearts are our hearts, not yours, not mine. It's our hearts. And I think we recognize that in each other. I heard another one of those little voices today, and it came with a visualization where I asked my heart, may I come in? And then I felt whatever it was that I was feeling. I can't really describe it, but I felt like I dropped into this very soft silk bag. And what I thought was, okay, thank you. That was me inviting myself into my heart, and my heart said yes, and whoop, just very tenderly surrounded, like almost like in a hammock. It was a beautiful feeling. So when we chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness, I think, it really pays to pay attention to some of the way things are said. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness. Let's become more and more skilled in goodness. And one who knows the path of peace. Chitta knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright. Upright, I think we can interpret in lots of different ways, but I like to think of it as dignity, being dignified, inner dignity. Straightforward and gentle in speech. Gentle in speech. I'm still learning that. Humble and not conceited. Contented and easily satisfied. Oh, I'm satisfied. Not craving. Unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways. Not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. I think the wise is our own knowing. We know when, maybe we need to take the precepts again. We know when we need to ask for forgiveness. We know when we can remember to be grateful and generous and of service. We know those things. So it may not be, men in the sky sort of thing, like I used to picture God as a guy in the sky. It may not be like that, but the wise could be the inner wise, the inner wisdom. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Just take a moment and sense that. May all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, the medium, short or small. The seen and the unseen. I thank Ralph for inviting the unseen the other night. The day was the Dakinis, the unseen protectors and supporters that are around us all the time. We forget, but they're there. Those living near and far away, someone that's far away never leaves our heart, yeah. And those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Whatever I've said that might be useful, please take it freely. And whatever I've said that maybe you're not responding to that much, just leave it here. It's okay. I won't know. But freely offered with from the deepest of my heart. Thank you very much.
And on that note, we could chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. Page 37, I believe. In the dark brown chanting books, page 37. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies, downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection.
This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not again into this world.
And page 68, the Paticca Samuppada chanting in the golden-colored chanting books. Page 68, very familiar by now. Avijja pacaya sankara sankara pacaya vinyanang vinyana pacaya namarupang namarupapacaya salayatanang salayatana pacaya Paso pasamba chaya vedana vedana pachaya tanha tanha pachaya upadanang upadana pachaya bhavo bhava pachaya jati jati pachaya jara Maranang soka parideva dukkha domana subhaya sa sambhavanti eva me tatsa kevalatsa dukkha kanda sa samudayo hoti avijjayataveva ase saviraganiro da sankara-nirodo sankara-niroda vinyana-nirodo vinyana-niroda namarupa-nirodo namarupa-niroda salayatana-nirodo salayatana-nirodha Pasanirodho, pasanirodha, vedana nirodho, vedana nirodha, tanha nirodho, tanha nirodha, upadana nirodho, upadana nirodha, bhava nirodho, bhava nirodha, Jati nirodho, jati nirodha, jara maranang soka parideva dukkha domana subhaya sa niruchanti eva me tatsa kevala sa dukkha kanda sa nirodho hoti. In the closing homage, page 28. Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami